I didn't even realize the bag was still in the back seat until the next morning. It was one of those small leather crossbody types she usually clutched like a lifeline, brown with gold buckles, soft from years of use. I'd picked her up after dinner with her friends the night before. She'd had 2 glasses of wine, maybe 3, and I remember her resting her head against the window as we drove through the quiet streets. She didn't talk much, said she was tired. I took that at face value. We pulled up to our driveway, and she kissed me on the cheek, quick, distracted, then got out of the car without looking back. I waited for the porch light to come on before pulling out to grab some gas. It wasn't until the next morning, rushing to work, that I noticed her bag still sitting there. At first, it was just an inconvenience. I sent her a text. "Hey, you left your bag in the car. I'll swing by your office on lunch." She didn't reply right away. Not unusual. She worked front desk at an architecture firm, always juggling calls and coffees and egos. But something about the silence lingered. Around noon, I slid into the driver's seat, grabbed the bag, and glanced at it for a moment too long. I don't know what made me unzip it. I really don't. I wish I could say I had a reason, that there was some clue or whisper of suspicion already planted in my mind. But I didn't. Not consciously, anyway. The note was folded once, tucked inside the interior pocket, just beneath her lip balm and a half-used pack of gum. It wasn't long. A few lines scribbled in pen on torn notebook paper. "Last night was perfect. I left the key under the stone frog by the back door. Same time Thursday." No name. No signature. Just that. And next to it, taped to the inside pocket, was a single silver key. I stared at it for what felt like forever. That first moment, it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like confusion. My mind couldn't compute what my eyes were telling me. I ran it back in my head, over and over. Thursday. Stone frog. Same time. It had the casual intimacy of repetition, of routine, of 2 people who'd done this before. And that's when the bottom dropped out of my stomach. I should have put the bag back down. Should have zipped it up, returned it like nothing happened, waited until I had more information. But instead, I sat there in my car, on my lunch break, parked 3 blocks from the office, gripping a stranger's key that suddenly felt like a map to a part of my wife's life I wasn't supposed to see. I took the rest of the day off. Told my boss I wasn't feeling well. Drove around for hours with that key on the passenger seat, the bag folded shut like a secret still whispering. I didn't tell her I found the note. That night, I handed her the bag at the door like nothing had happened. She smiled, said, "Thank you," kissed me lightly, and went back to scrolling on her phone. I watched her from the kitchen, watched how easily she moved through our home, how familiar she looked in my shirt, how she still turned down the corner of her page when she read before bed. How do you look at someone you love and not ask what else you've missed? That night, I slept on my side facing away from her. I didn't ask anything. I didn't accuse. I just lay there, listening to her breath, memorizing its rhythm. Because some part of me already knew. This was the beginning of something I wasn't ready for. And I couldn't put the key down. The next day, I drove to the hardware store. I held the key up, asked the guy behind the counter if he recognized the brand. He did. It was a generic one, not tied to any particular complex. That told me nothing. I considered going home. But the note said Thursday. That gave me 2 days. 2 days to decide whether I really wanted to know. I thought about confronting her, just putting the note on the table and asking. But there was this gnawing fear. What if she lied again? What if she twisted it? What if she cried and told me I was crazy and somehow made me believe it? No. If I was going to do this, I needed to see it myself. So Thursday came. I left work early, drove around a neighborhood I didn't know, scanning front yards for that stupid stone frog. It took over an hour. And then I saw it. Plain as day. A little gray frog statue in the garden bed of a 2-story brick townhouse, tucked beneath a tree like it belonged there. I pulled over half a block away, parked under a dying maple tree. My palms were sweating. I held the key like it was a burning coal. I waited. 10 minutes. 15. Then I saw her. My wife. In jeans and a green sweater I hadn't seen before. Hair tied up. Casual. Familiar. Smiling. Walking up to the house like she'd done it 100 times. I didn't get out of the car. Didn't move. I just watched the door open and a man I'd never seen before step out. Take her in his arms like she belonged there, and kiss her. It wasn't lust. It wasn't desperation. It looked like home. I sat there for a long time. Long enough for the sun to dip behind the buildings and cast the street in gold. Long enough to realize I hadn't blinked or breathed. That's when it hit me, not the anger. Not yet. Just the sound of my own voice in my head asking the one question I couldn't answer. How long has this been going on? I didn't go home right away. I couldn't. I drove without direction. Just let the streets carry me. I remember pulling into the parking lot of an old diner on the east side, the kind with flickering neon and plastic booths that creaked when you sat. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and stared at the steam until it disappeared. It was a strange thing, knowing, finally, all the suspicions that had scratched quietly at the back of my mind, all the small shifts I'd written off as stress, work, life, suddenly, they made sense. The late-night texts she turned away from, the showers before dinner, the sudden interest in fitness. All of it, pieces of a puzzle I hadn't wanted to solve. And now that I had, I didn't feel powerful, or even angry. I just felt hollow. I must have sat there for an hour, maybe more. I thought about calling someone, my brother, maybe, or Jake from college. But what would I even say? That my wife of 6 years had been lying to me? That I'd followed a trail she hadn't even realized she'd left, and it led me straight to someone else's front door? I went home around 9. She was already there, curled up on the couch with a blanket and a bowl of popcorn, watching some drama on Netflix like her day hadn't split mine wide open. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, you okay? You look tired." I stared at her face. Every detail familiar. The birthmark under her chin. The way her left eyebrow arched higher than the right when she was relaxed. "I'm fine," I said. My voice didn't crack. "Just a long day." She nodded, turned back to the screen. I walked past her to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and stood there staring into the cold, pretending to look for something while my heart beat like a war drum in my chest. I didn't confront her that night. Part of me still hoped I'd wake up and find it hadn't been real, that the note had been a misunderstanding, that the kiss I saw wasn't what it looked like. But when I closed my eyes, all I saw was that frog statue, that door, that man. The next morning, she kissed me goodbye like nothing had changed. And I let her. I started observing her after that, like a scientist studying an animal in the wild, noticing the little tells. The slight shift in her tone when she answered a call and stepped out of the room. The hesitation before she told me what she'd done that day. How her laughter felt placed. Not real. Not full. I started keeping a journal. Notes. Times. Dates. Not out of spite, but because I needed to know I wasn't imagining this. That I hadn't invented the betrayal in my head. Then, the key started to haunt me. I kept it in a drawer in the garage, tucked inside an old Altoids tin. But every time I walked past that drawer, I felt it, like it was humming through the wood, reminding me of what I knew, of what I'd seen. By the second week, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I came home early on a Tuesday. Her car was in the driveway. Inside, the house was quiet. I walked upstairs and found her in the bedroom, folding laundry. She looked up, surprised. "Everything okay?" she asked. I nodded, then reached into my jacket and pulled out the note. Her eyes flicked to it. She didn't recognize it at first. Not until I unfolded it. Not until I held it out to her. She didn't reach for it. "What is this?" she said. "I was hoping you'd tell me." She stared at it like it might catch fire. "I found it in your bag. The one you left in my car." She didn't move. Just blinked, slow and deliberate. Look, it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" There was a long silence. I could hear the dryer thumping downstairs. A bird outside the window. The sound of something fragile inside her cracking. "It's complicated," she said finally. "No, it's not. It's a note. It's a key. And it's you kissing someone else on his front porch." She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "You followed me." I laughed. I actually laughed. "You forgot your bag, Rachel. I didn't hire a PI. I didn't snoop. You just left breadcrumbs. And I followed them." She sank onto the edge of the bed, folded her hands in her lap like a child about to be scolded. "I didn't plan for it to happen," she said quietly. That sentence, that cliché, it was like watching a fire start in slow motion. "How long?" I asked. She didn't answer. "How long, Rachel?" "A few months," she said. 5, maybe 6. I felt something in my chest tighten. "So half a year of lies." "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "But you did." She nodded. I stood there, unsure what to do with my hands, unsure what to do with my heart. "Is he in love with you?" She looked up at me then, eyes wet. "I don't know. But you're in love with him." "I don't know," she repeated. But it wasn't the words, it was the way she said them. Quiet. Defeated. Like someone mourning something that hadn't died yet, but was dying. Do you want to be with him? I asked. She paused. Just long enough. And in that pause, I had my answer. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I didn't ask her why or how, or if it was because of something I did. I just walked out of the room. I remember going downstairs, sitting on the bottom step, staring at the floorboards we'd picked out together 3 years ago. Dark walnut, wide planks, just rustic enough to feel warm in winter. I sat there long enough for the light outside to shift from gold to gray. She came down eventually. Quiet. Careful. I can stay at my sister's for a while, she said. I didn't answer. I think I just nodded. She packed that night. One suitcase. A tote bag. Left the wedding album on the shelf. Left the little ceramic bowl on the kitchen counter where she kept her keys and loose change. Left the note, too. I found it later on the dresser, folded once, like I'd first seen it. But she didn't take the key. The silver one. I found it 2 days later while clearing out the garage. Still inside the Altoids tin, right where I'd put it. Untouched. Unclaimed. And I remember staring at it, turning it over in my palm, thinking, not about him. Not even about her. But about the weight of it. The cold, smooth certainty of it. She had chosen him, at least emotionally, but hadn't taken the key. That struck me. It wasn't loyalty. It wasn't regret. It was something murkier. A woman who wanted options. Who hadn't fully closed any door, not even the one behind her. And in that, I understood something I'd been avoiding for weeks. She didn't leave to be with him. She left because something in her had already gone missing, long before I ever found the note. That following week, I took some time off work. My boss didn't ask questions. I think he could see it in my face. I stayed busy, reorganizing the house, fixing the leaking faucet in the guest bathroom, mowing the lawn twice even though it didn't need it. Anything to avoid the silence. Anything to avoid walking by our bedroom and hearing the quiet where her laugh used to live. But the house still felt like her. Her shampoo in the shower. Her mug in the dishwasher. Her scent on the pillows. I thought about throwing everything out. Making a clean break. But I didn't. I just let it stay. Let it fade on its own. Grief is strange like that. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't arrive with ceremony. It just slips in through the cracks, slowly, until one day you're sitting in a room that used to feel full, and now it echoes. 3 weeks later, I got a text. Can we talk? It was her. I stared at the message for a long time. My fingers hovered over the screen, then dropped. I didn't answer. Not out of anger. But because I didn't have anything left to say that she didn't already know. She reached out again. 2 more times. A call I didn't pick up. Then silence. And somewhere in that silence, I began to rebuild. Piece by piece. Quietly. I started waking up earlier. Making real breakfast. Running again. I reconnected with an old friend, started volunteering at a local shelter on weekends, fixed the lock on the side gate that had been broken for months. Small things, but each one reminded me I was still here. Still capable of showing up. Still capable of beginning again. The silver key? I kept it for a while. Not out of sentiment, but as a reminder. A warning. Proof of what happens when you stop listening. When you stop being curious about the person you promised to know. Marriage isn't just love. It's vigilance. Not suspicion, but attention. And somewhere along the way, both of us stopped paying attention. I finally threw the key away in early spring. Not in anger. Not in ceremony. I just dropped it into a storm drain on a walk around the block one morning, watched it disappear beneath the grate, and felt light. People think betrayal is loud. But it's not. It's quiet. It's found in notes forgotten in bags, in keys left behind, in pauses too long to ignore. It's in the silence of a car where 2 people used to laugh. I don't know what became of him. I don't know if she ever went back. I don't ask. Because in the end, it wasn't about him. Or even about the lie. It was about the truth that came after. That I was stronger than I thought. That peace doesn't come from knowing why, but from accepting what is. And maybe that's the real ending. Not a door slamming shut, but one quietly unlocking. And this time, walking through it alone.